Have you ever wondered how a dream begins? Not just the spark, but the kindling, the slow burn that becomes an all-consuming fire. For a young boy in a small town called Pallet, that dream began with one very loud alarm clock and a famously stubborn Pokémon. Imagine a world brimming with possibility where every rustle of leaves could mean a new friend, a new challenge, a new adventure. This is the world Ash inhabits, a world populated by creatures of immense power and boundless mystery, Pokémon. And like so many young trainers, Ash has one burning desire: to become a Pokémon master. But dreams rarely arrive neatly. They arrive in chaos, wrapped in the unexpected. And so it was for Ash. On the most important morning of his young life, the morning he was finally old enough to receive his first Pokémon, he overslept. Already too late for the usual starter lineup from the venerable professor of the region, his only option was Pikachu, an electric mouse with a shocking personality. From the very start, Pikachu made it clear he wasn't interested in being Ash's friend, or his partner. He balked at being placed in a Pokeball and zapped Ash with bursts of electricity whenever the boy got too close. This was not the grand partnership Ash had imagined. This was complicated. But apparently fate had other designs. Their initial animosity wouldn't last. A desperate flight, a selfless act, and an electric bolt would forge a bond fiercer than any current. When a flock of Spearow descended, overwhelming Ash and Pikachu, it was the little electric mouse who defied his fear and unleashed a massive thunderbolt. In that moment, something changed. A flicker of trust ignited, a spark of understanding passed between them. Ash, in turn, took shelter under an old tree and shielded Pikachu from rain, his determination unwavering, proof of his loyalty. The journey had truly begun. This is their story. A story with laughter and tears, triumphs and setbacks, unexpected friendships and formidable foes. It's about the unwavering bond between a boy and his Pokémon, a bond that would be tested again and again, yet never broken. It's about what it truly means to be a Pokémon master. But the road to mastery isn't walked alone. Along the way, Ash would meet others who shared his passion, challenged his beliefs, and became his closest companions. First came Misty, a headstrong girl whose secret love for water-type Pokémon and fiery spirit matched Ash's own zeal. Their first meeting? Explosive, to say the least. After Pikachu's shockwave inadvertently destroyed her bicycle, Misty declared she would follow Ash until he paid her back. Yet what began as debt blossomed into genuine friendship. Misty's practical knowledge of Pokémon and fierce loyalty proving invaluable. Then came Brock, a gentle giant with golden heart and deep knowledge of Pokémon care and breeding. Former gym leader of Pewter City, Brock brought a wisdom Ash, desperately needed. He joined Ash and Misty after leaving his gym duties behind, and, in return for Ash's help with a family matter, became Ash's mentor, guiding him through the complexities of the Pokémon world. Together, Ash, Pikachu, Misty, and Brock embarked on a quest across the Kanto region, challenging gym leaders, battling rivals, and uncovering Pokémon mysteries. Each step of the way they learned lessons of friendship, courage, and perseverance. Kanto was their proving ground. Every gym presented a new test, a new type, a new lesson, from the rocky terrain of Pewter City where Ash earned the Boulder Badge, to the watery arena of Cerulean City facing Misty's sisters and earning the Cascade Badge. Vermilion City brought Ash face to face with Lustin Surge and his Electabuzz, which forced Ash to question Pikachu's reluctance to evolve. Celadon City tested him against Erika's grass types, then Fuchsia City and the young ninja gym leader Koga, before finally arriving at Cinnabar Island, where gym leader Blaine unleashed fire-type trials atop a volcano. Note, the gym in the show was burned down and the badge was still earned, differing slightly from the games. But Ash's journey wasn't merely about collecting badges. It was about forming a team, forging bonds, and trusting in his Pokémon's strengths. Along the way, he captured a motley crew: Caterpie, who dreamed of becoming Butterfree; Bulbasaur, loyal and protective, refusing to evolve; Squirtle, mischievous leader of the Squirtle Squad; Krabby, shy but hiding immense power; Muck, affectionate chaos. Each of them played a vital role. At the same time, growth often meant goodbye. Pidgeotto, after evolving into Pidgeot, answered the call of the wild, leaving Ash so he could protect a flock of Pidgey and Pidgeotto. Butterfree likewise found love and flew off. These departures were bittersweet, proof that true friendship sometimes means letting go. Perhaps the hardest relationship Ash had was with Charizard. What began as a loyal Charmander turned into a defiant Charmeleon, and then Charizard, stubborn and proud, refusing Ash's commands, even in the Orange Islands. It wasn't until the episode often called Charizard Chills that things shifted, after Ash stayed awake all night to help heal his frozen Charizard, and at last Charizard began to obey. Finally, the Indigo Plateau, the site of the first Kanto region Pokemon League tournament. Ash battled through the preliminary rounds and made it to the top 16, a remarkable showing for a young trainer. He faced his friend and rival Richie, but fell short when Charizard again refused to battle. The defeat stung. Yet in that moment, Ash learned the most important lesson. Being a Pokemon Master isn't just about battles or badges, it's about trust, bond, teamwork. After the Kanto League, Ash headed into the Orange Islands, joined by Tracy Sketchit while Brock stayed behind with Professor Ivy. The Orange Islands changed the rules. No gym badges, but instead Orange Crew challenges and a league at the end. Among the toughest foes was Drake, the Orange League champion with his Dragon-type mastery. Their duel ended in Ash's victory, earning the Orange League trophy and proving his growth in a profound way. When that chapter closed, Ash returned to Pallet Town ready for what came next. He left many of his captured Pokemon in his home lab with Professor Oak, except for Pikachu, who remained his steadfast partner. It was the end of one era and the beginning of another. As Ash and Pikachu stood at the dawn of their next journey, they knew this. The road ahead would be harder, more rewarding, and unforgettable. The world of Pokemon awaited, and together they were ready. Before we go any further, I know many of you like to fall asleep to my videos, or you watch it in the background while you multitask, so I will keep my narration calm and gradually dim the brightness for you. Also, real quick, I want to speak directly to you, the viewer. Many of you have already subscribed, and I can't thank you enough for that, but if you haven't yet, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It's free, it really helps our little community grow, and we've got plenty of exciting Pokemon content you won't want to miss. And don't forget to share this video with any of your friends who also love Pokemon. Thanks again. Now back to the video. The boy who overslept Pallet Town, a name that whispers of gentle breezes, sun-drenched fields, and the promise of new beginnings. Can you imagine a place more serene, more perfectly poised on the edge of adventure? This is where our story truly takes root, a place seemingly untouched by the urgency of the world beyond. The houses, painted in soft hues, nestled comfortably among rolling hills, the air thick with the scent of wild berries and the distant murmur of a nearby stream, a place where dreams are nurtured and futures are gently coaxed into bloom. But even in paradise, the unexpected can shatter the calm. Picture this: a room bathed in the golden light of a rising sun, dust motes dancing in the air. On the walls, posters of legendary Pokemon, their vibrant colours hinting at the epic journeys that lie ahead. And in the centre of it all, a bed. A rumpled, chaotic landscape of blankets and pillows. Buried beneath this textile Everest is a boy, fast asleep, oblivious to the momentous day that has dawned. That boy, of course, is Ash. Now, you might be thinking, what's so special about a boy oversleeping? Well, today wasn't just any day. Today was the day that Ash, like so many other 10-year-olds in Pallet Town, would finally receive his very own Pokemon. A partner, a friend, an ally in the incredible journey that awaited him. The idyllic setting of Pallet Town was about to be juxtaposed with the frantic energy of a boy desperately trying to catch up with his dreams. The alarm clock, a relic from a bygone era, lay silent and defeated on the floor. It had screamed its digital lungs out, but to no avail. Ash remained undisturbed, lost in a world of dreams where he was already a Pokemon master, effortlessly commanding legendary creatures and vanquishing all who dared to oppose him. Meanwhile, just a short distance away, nestled at the edge of town stood Professor Oak's laboratory, a beacon of scientific inquiry and the starting point for countless young trainers. Imagine a sprawling complex, filled with the gentle hum of machinery, the chirping of Pokemon, and the quiet dedication of researchers. It was here, within those walls, that the next generation of Pokemon trainers would take their first steps into a world brimming with wonder and peril. Inside, a palpable sense of anticipation hung in the air. 3 meticulously arranged Pokeballs sat on a gleaming table, each containing a different starter Pokemon, each representing a unique path to greatness. Bulbasaur, the Grass-type Pokemon, exuded a quiet confidence. Charmander, the Fire-type, crackled with untamed energy, and Squirtle, the Water-type, stood poised with a playful glint in its eye. Each trainer would choose one, and together they would embark on the adventure of a lifetime. But where was Ash? The other soon-to-be trainers, Gary Oak, Professor Oak's grandson, and a young girl named Sarah, had already arrived, their faces flushed with excitement and nervous energy. Gary, brimming with the arrogance only a prodigy could possess, paced impatiently, occasionally glancing at his watch. Sarah, more reserved but equally eager, fidgeted with the strap of her backpack, her eyes darting towards the Pokeballs. Professor Oak, a kindly old man with a twinkle in his eye and a lab coat perpetually askew, tried to maintain a semblance of order. He adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat and attempted to reassure the anxious trainers, but even he couldn't hide the growing concern etched on his face. Time was slipping away. Back in Ash's room, a ray of sunlight finally pierced through the gap in the curtains, landing squarely on his face. He stirred, groaned, and slowly pried his eyes open. For a moment he lay there, disoriented and confused. Then the realization hit him like a thunderbolt. His eyes widened in horror. He bolted upright in bed, his heart pounding in his chest. He glanced at the clock, or rather the mangled remains of what was once a clock. The shattered display mocked him with its unblinking digits. He was late, terribly, catastrophically late. In a flurry of limbs and frantic movements, Ash stumbled out of bed, tripping over a discarded Pokeball and nearly sending a stack of books crashing to the floor. He threw on his clothes, his fingers fumbling with the buttons and zippers. He grabbed his backpack, crammed a handful of snacks inside and raced out the door, leaving a trail of discarded socks and half-eaten toast in his wake. The streets of Pallet Town, usually so peaceful and serene, were now a blur of colours as Ash sprinted towards Professor Oak's lab. He could hear the faint sounds of Pokemon cries in the distance, a constant reminder of what he was missing. He burst through the doors of the lab, breathless and dishevelled, his face flushed with shame. Professor Oak, Gary and Sarah turned to look at him, their expressions a mixture of amusement and disappointment. "Ash, my boy!" Professor Oak exclaimed, his voice a mixture of relief and exasperation. "You're finally here! We were beginning to think you decided to become a Pokemon trainer in your dreams." Ash could only stammer an apology, his eyes darting towards the table where the Pokeballs had been. But it was too late. Gary was already cradling a Bulbasaur in his arms, a smug grin plastered across his face. Sarah stood beside him, her eyes sparkling with joy as she bonded with her new Charmander. The table was empty, save for a single, unassuming Pokeball. Professor Oak sighed. "I'm afraid you're a little late, Ash. Gary and Sarah have already chosen their Pokemon. All that's left is..." He gestured towards the remaining Pokeball. "Pikachu." The fateful moment had arrived. Ash arrived late, and Pikachu was his only option. A jolt of disappointment coursed through Ash. Pikachu. He had heard stories about Pikachu. They were notoriously stubborn, fiercely independent, and rarely bonded with humans. They were also electric type Pokemon, which meant they were vulnerable to ground-type attacks, a common weakness in the early stages of a trainer's journey. But he had no choice. With a deep breath, Ash reached out and took the Pokeball. He hesitated for a moment, then pressed the button in the centre. The Pokeball popped open, releasing a flash of light. And then, there it was. Pikachu. But this wasn't the cute and cuddly Pikachu that Ash had imagined. This Pikachu was different. Its fur was bristling, its cheeks were crackling with electricity, and its eyes were narrowed in suspicion. It glared at Ash with an intensity that could melt steel. Pikachu's initial hostility was immediately apparent. It didn't want to be here. It didn't want to be with him. Ash, eager to make a good impression, reached out to pet Pikachu, but the electric mouse responded with a jolt of electricity, sending Ash sprawling to the floor. "Pikachu!" Professor Oak exclaimed, his voice laced with concern. "That's no way to treat your new trainer." Pikachu simply snorted and turned its back on Ash, its tail twitching defiantly. Ash, undeterred, tried again. "Come on, Pikachu," he said, his voice gentle and encouraging. "Let's be friends. We're going to have a great adventure together." Pikachu remained unmoved. The ultimate test. Pikachu refused to enter a Pokeball. Ash knew that Pokemon were typically housed inside their Pokeballs, a safe and comfortable environment where they could rest and recover. But Pikachu was having none of it. Ash tried coaxing, pleading, and even gently nudging Pikachu towards the Pokeball. But each attempt was met with a stubborn refusal and a crackling display of electricity. It was clear that this was going to be a challenge. As Ash struggled to connect with his new Pokemon, little did he know that this rocky start was actually the first step on a path that would lead to an unbreakable bond. A bond forged in the heat of battle, strengthened by mutual respect, and tested by countless trials. The stage was set, the players were in place, the journey was about to begin. But before Ash and Pikachu could even begin to understand each other, they would face a trial by fire, a desperate struggle for survival that would force them to rely on each other in ways they never thought possible. Get ready, because next up sparks fly, the Spearow encounter. Ash's journey wasn't just about catching them all, it was about something far more fundamental, learning what it truly meant to be a Pokemon trainer. And that lesson began, not with a triumphant victory, but with a comical disaster. Fresh out of bed and sporting mismatched clothes, Ash was the very picture of unpreparedness. His eagerness was a palpable thing, a boundless energy that threatened to spill over. But eagerness alone doesn't win Pokemon battles, and it certainly doesn't earn the respect of a Pikachu. Ash's inexperience immediately became apparent. He fumbled with the Pokeball, nearly dropping it in. His haste. He called out commands that were less strategic and more enthusiastic shouts. And Pikachu? Pikachu responded with disdain, a shocking jolt of electricity directed not at an opponent, but squarely at Ash's face. This wasn't the heroic partnership he'd envisioned. Pikachu refused to be confined to its Pokeball, a clear sign of its untamed spirit. It perched stubbornly on Ash's shoulder, radiating defiance with every twitch of its electric tail. Ash, determined to bond with his first Pokemon, tried everything he could think of. He offered food, pleaded with it, even attempted a clumsy imitation of Pikachu's own squeaks and chirps, all to no avail. Pikachu remained aloof, a tiny electric storm cloud brewing on his shoulder. As they ventured beyond Pallet Town, the sprawling green fields gave way to a dense, shadowy forest. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of unseen Pokemon echoed through the trees. It was here, in this seemingly peaceful place, that their already rocky start took a turn for the worse. Suddenly, a flock of Spearow descended from the sky, their sharp beaks and menacing cries shattering the tranquility. The Spearow attack was swift and brutal. These weren't playful pecks, they were targeted strikes, driven by a primal aggression. Ash, caught completely off guard, stumbled backward, shielding his face with his arms. Pikachu, initially unfazed, now bristled with alarm, its ears twitching, its tail crackling with electricity. The Spearow were relentless, their numbers overwhelming. Ash realized with a growing sense of dread that this was more than just a minor skirmish. This was a fight for survival. He shouted commands, desperate for Pikachu to respond, but the electric mouse remained frozen, seemingly paralyzed by the sheer number of attackers. Then, something shifted. Perhaps it was the sight of Ash being relentlessly pecked, or maybe it was the primal instinct to defend its territory. Whatever the reason, Pikachu unleashed an electric surge, a raw display of power that sent the Spearow scattering. The air crackled with energy as bolts of lightning arced from Pikachu's cheeks. The ground trembled beneath their feet. It was an uncontrolled burst, far more powerful than anything Ash could have imagined. The Spearow, momentarily stunned, retreated to the trees, their angry cries replaced by panicked squawks. But the reprieve was short-lived. The Spearow regrouped, their anger fueled by pain and frustration. They swarmed back, their beaks aimed with renewed ferocity. Ash knew they couldn't withstand another attack like that. Pikachu was exhausted, its tiny body trembling from the exertion. In that moment, something remarkable happened. Ash, without hesitation, stepped in front of Pikachu, shielding it from the onslaught. He closed his eyes, bracing for the pain, his only thought to protect the small creature that, just moments ago, he barely knew. This was his first act of selfless courage, a testament to the burgeoning friendship that was slowly taking root. He didn't think about the danger, about the sharp beaks tearing at his skin. He simply acted, driven by an instinct to protect the Pokémon under his care. The Spearow continued their assault, pecking and clawing at Ash's back. He cried out in pain, but he didn't move. He stood firm, a human shield against a swarm of angry birds. And then, as suddenly as it began, the attack stopped. A shadow fell over them, and a deafening roar echoed through the forest. The Spearow, terrified by the newcomer, scattered in all directions. Ash, bruised and bleeding, slowly opened his eyes. He looked up to see a majestic Ho-Oh soaring through the sky, its golden feathers shimmering in the sunlight. It was a fleeting glimpse, a moment of ethereal beauty that seemed to defy reality. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, the Ho-Oh vanished, leaving Ash and Pikachu alone in the aftermath of the attack. Ash collapsed to the ground, his body aching, his clothes torn. Pikachu, weakened but unharmed, nuzzled against him, its electric tail emitting a faint, comforting glow. The next thing Ash knew, he was waking up in a sterile white room. The air smelled of antiseptic, and the only sound was the gentle beeping of a heart monitor. He was in a hospital bed, his body bandaged, his mind reeling. He looked around, disoriented, and saw Professor Oak standing beside him, a concerned expression on his face. The professor explained that a passing trainer had found them unconscious in the forest and brought them to the nearest Pokémon Center. Ash had suffered minor injuries, but he would recover. But it wasn't his physical injuries that occupied Ash's thoughts. It was the memory of the Spearow attack, the feeling of Pikachu's electric surge, and the instinctive act of shielding it from harm. He looked down at his bandaged hands, a quiet realization dawning within him. He understood for the first time that being a Pokémon trainer wasn't just about catching Pokémon and winning battles. It was about something more profound, about trust, about courage, and about the unbreakable bond between human and Pokémon. In that quiet hospital room, surrounded by the beeping of machines and the hushed whispers of nurses, Ash felt a shift within himself. The naive, overeager boy who had left Pallet Town just hours before was gone, replaced by someone different. Someone who had faced danger, who had felt fear, and who had discovered a newfound respect for the power and the vulnerability of Pokémon. Pikachu, perched on the edge of the bed, looked at Ash with a newfound respect in its eyes. The electric mouse, still wary, now seemed to acknowledge the shift in their relationship. A hesitant nudge, a soft chirp, a silent understanding passed between them. The aftermath wasn't just about physical recovery, it was about the quiet realization of their connection, a bond forged in the crucible of fear and sacrifice. Ash knew, with a certainty that resonated deep within his soul, that their journey had truly begun. He was no longer just a boy with a dream, he was a trainer, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, with Pikachu by his side. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more battles, more challenges, and more lessons to learn. But Ash was ready. He had tasted the sting of defeat, the fear of the unknown, and the sweetness of a bond forged in adversity. He was ready to embrace the journey, to grow as a trainer, and to discover the true meaning of Pokémon mastery. But before Ash could fully process this newfound understanding, a new challenge awaited, one that would test his resolve and introduce him to a fiery spirit with a bone to pick. Up next, we find out about a misty entrance. Ash and Pikachu's bond was forged in fire, quite literally. But what happens when that fire spreads? Imagine, if you will, a young girl, fiery red hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, standing beside a stream, fishing rod in hand. This is Misty. She has dreams of becoming the world's greatest water Pokémon master, but for now, she's just trying to catch enough dinner to feed herself. Suddenly, the quiet morning is shattered by a speeding figure on a bike, a yellow blur clinging to his shoulder. That's Ash, of course, still fleeing the flock of Spearow. He's not watching where he's going. Crash! Ash, Pikachu, and bike all collide with Misty, sending her sprawling and her fishing rod flying. The bike, reduced to a twisted heap of metal. "My bike! You wrecked my bike!" Misty's voice is like a thunderclap cutting through the morning air. This is our comedic but pivotal encounter with Misty. Ash, dazed and confused, stammers an apology, barely registering the extent of the damage. He's far more concerned with Pikachu's well-being, and the lingering threat of those angry birds. Sorry? Sorry isn't going to fix my bike, Misty's eyes flash. This isn't just about the bike, you see. It's about the principle. It's about responsibility. It's about the fact that she saved up for months to buy that bike. And here comes Misty's fiery personality fully revealed. She's not one to back down from a fight, especially when she feels wronged. This isn't just anger, it's a fierce determination that burns within her. It's a side effect of living in the shadow of her 3 older sisters, but we'll get to that later. Ash, oblivious to the depth of her frustration, brushes himself off and prepares to continue his journey. He has a Pokemon League to conquer after all. Hey, where do you think you're going? Misty plants herself firmly in his path. You're not getting away with this. You owe me a new bike. Thus begins the promise of repayment. Misty's reluctant but persistent pursuit of Ash. She's not driven by malice, but by a deep-seated sense of fairness. She can't just let him waltz off and forget about the consequences of his actions. And so, she begins to follow him, a constant shadow, a reminder of his reckless actions. She'll hound him until he makes things right. Now, consider the dynamic of Ash's recklessness clashing with Misty's pragmatism. Ash is all impulse, driven by enthusiasm and a burning desire to be the very best. He charges headfirst into danger, consequences be damned. Misty, on the other hand, is grounded, practical, and always thinking several steps ahead. She sees the world in terms of cause and effect, and she's not afraid to speak her mind, even if it means raining on Ash's parade. Their contrasting personalities create a constant push and pull, a source of both conflict and comedy. Ash's impulsiveness often leads them into trouble, while Misty's pragmatism helps them navigate those challenges. They're oil and water. But there's more to Misty than meets the eye. Beneath that tough exterior lies a girl with her own dreams and motivations, and we are now foreshadowing Misty's own dreams and motivations beyond the bike. The bike is just a catalyst. It's the reason she latches onto Ash, but it's not the only thing driving her. She dreams of being the greatest water Pokemon master, surpassing even her sisters, the famous Cerulean City gym leaders. She wants to prove herself, to step out of their shadow and forge her own path. Following Ash, though initially motivated by the bike debt, becomes an opportunity for her to gain experience, to learn from the battles they face and to hone her skills as a trainer. Each encounter, each challenge, brings her closer to realizing her own ambitions. But what about Ash? Does he even understand the impact he's had on Misty's life? Does he realize that his reckless actions have inadvertently set her on a new course? Perhaps not. He's too focused on his own goals, too caught up in the thrill of the adventure. But as they travel together, as they face challenges side by side, he'll slowly begin to see Misty for who she truly is. A fiercely independent, incredibly talented, and surprisingly loyal friend. And Misty, in turn, will learn to appreciate Ash's unwavering optimism, his boundless energy, and his genuine love for Pokemon. She'll see that his recklessness is often tempered by a surprising amount of courage and compassion. Their journey together is just beginning, but it's already clear that their paths are intertwined, their destinies linked by a broken bicycle and a shared dream. The stolen bike incident wasn't just an accident. It was the spark that ignited a lifelong friendship, a partnership that would shape their lives in ways they couldn't possibly imagine. And as they continue their journey, they'll encounter new friends, face new challenges, and discover the true meaning of what it means to be a Pokemon master. But before they can conquer the world, they must first conquer their own doubts and insecurities. They must learn to trust each other, to rely on each other, and to support each other through thick and thin. And that journey begins in a place where strength is more than just physical, where courage is tested, and where the very earth seems to tremble with anticipation. Get ready, because next, they're headed to the rock-solid Pewter Gym, Pewter City. Have you ever felt the weight of responsibility settle on your shoulders? Imagine that feeling permeating an entire town. That's Pewter City, a place where the very air seems thick with the burden of expectation, a place where the granite buildings reflect the stoic nature of its inhabitants. It's a city carved from the same stone as the mountains that surround it, a testament to resilience, and the perfect stage for our young hero's first real test. But more than just a city of stone, Pewter City is a city of family, and at its heart lies the Pewter Gym, a place where rock types reign supreme, and where Brock, a young man with eyes that always seemed a little too tired for his age, carries a weight far heavier than any boulder. Brock's dedication to his family wasn't just a virtue, it was a necessity. His father had abandoned them, leaving Brock to care for his many younger siblings. He cooked, he cleaned, he nurtured, all while striving to become a Pokemon master. The gym wasn't just a place to battle, it was the family business, a source of income, a responsibility that tethered him to Pewter City. Can you imagine the pressure? The conflict between personal ambition and familial duty. This is the Brock that Ash encountered, a young man on the cusp of greatness, held back by the very love that defined him. Ash, of course, barreled into Pewter City with the boundless enthusiasm of youth, completely oblivious to the complexities that lay beneath the surface. He saw the gym as a challenge, a stepping stone on his path to becoming a Pokemon master. He was ready to battle, ready to win, and utterly unprepared for the strategic mastery that awaited him. The battle against Brock exposed Ash's strategic shortcomings in brutal fashion. Ash, ever the optimist, chose Pikachu as his first combatant, banking on the electric mouse's speed and power. After all, electric types are strong against rock types, right? Well, not always. Brock's Geodude, a seemingly simple rock Pokemon, proved to be an immovable object. Pikachu's electric attacks did little more than irritate it. Geodude shrugged off the Thunderbolt and with a swift rock throw, sent Pikachu crashing to the ground. Ash, stunned by this unexpected turn of events, recalled Pikachu. He then made a decision that, in hindsight, was perhaps a little foolish. He sent out his newly caught Caterpie. Now, Caterpie is a charming Pokemon undoubtedly, but against a rock type, its string shot was easily brushed aside, and a single rock tomb from Geodude was enough to end Caterpie's participation in the battle. Ash was down 2 Pokemon, and Brock hadn't even broken a sweat. His overconfidence had quickly evaporated, replaced by a growing sense of unease. It was clear Ash's initial strategy was a complete failure. He had underestimated Brock, underestimated the power of rock types, and overestimated his own abilities. He was learning a harsh lesson, that becoming a Pokemon master required more than just enthusiasm. It required strategy, knowledge, and a healthy dose of humility. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, something unexpected happened. The intervention of Flint. Flint, a mysterious figure who had been watching the battle from the shadows, stepped into the arena. He was Brock's father, the one who had abandoned his family to pursue his own Pokemon journey. His return was not triumphant, though. He was ashamed, humbled by his own failures. He saw in Ash a reflection of the ambition he once possessed, and in Brock the burden he had selfishly placed upon his son. Flint's intervention wasn't a declaration of love or a grand apology. It was a moment of compassion and guidance, a quiet acknowledgement of the sacrifices Brock had made. He offered Ash advice, pointing out the weaknesses in his strategy and suggesting a different approach. He reminded Ash that Pokemon battles weren't just about brute force. They were about understanding your opponent, exploiting their weaknesses, and building a bond with your own Pokemon. Following Flint's advice, Ash attempted to continue the battle, but Pikachu was too injured to continue. Despite this, Brock, moved by Ash's determination and Flint's words, made a surprising decision. The Boulder Badge was gifted, not earned. Brock, seeing Ash's potential and recognizing the spark of true passion within him, decided to give him the badge. It wasn't a reward for victory, but a symbol of respect, a recognition of Ash's spirit and a challenge to continue growing. Ash, however, wasn't satisfied. He knew he hadn't truly earned the Boulder Badge. He hadn't defeated Brock, he had been given a gift. And while he appreciated the gesture, he knew that true victory had to be earned, not handed out. This realization sparked a new determination within Ash. He vowed to return to Pewter City, to train harder, to learn more, and to challenge Brock again, to earn the Boulder Badge properly. This wasn't just about collecting badges, it was about proving himself, about showing Brock and himself that he had what it takes to become a Pokemon master. This sets the stage for a rematch, a future confrontation where Ash would have the opportunity to demonstrate his growth, his strategic acumen, and the strength of his bond with Pikachu. This initial encounter with Brock wasn't just a battle, it was a crucible, forging Ash's character and setting him on a path of continuous improvement. It was a reminder that failure is not the end, but an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to come back stronger. The road ahead was long and filled with many more challenges, but for now Ash had a new goal, a burning desire to prove himself worthy, and that desire would fuel his journey as he set his sights on the next gym and the next challenge, a challenge that awaits him in Cerulean City. Are you ready to uncover the secrets of the next gym? Because up next is Chapter 5, The Cascade Badge and Misty's Secret, Cerulean City. Just the name conjures images of sparkling waters and clear blue skies, doesn't it? But beyond its serene facade, Cerulean City held a secret, one that would forever change Ash's journey, and especially his complicated relationship with a certain temperamental, water-loving redhead. Remember Misty? Always quick to anger, fiercely independent and undeniably knowledgeable about Pokemon, especially the aquatic kind. What you didn't know, what Ash certainly didn't suspect, was the real reason she was so insistent on tagging along. It all leads back to the sensational Cerulean Gym sisters, Daisy, Violet and Lily. 3 sisters, 3 stars, and the faces of the Cerulean Gym. They were known throughout Kanto not just for their skill as trainers, but for their elaborate underwater performances. Think synchronized swimming, but with Pokemon. A spectacle of grace, beauty, and, well, a bit of theatrical flair. But behind the smiles and the shimmering scales lay a gym struggling to maintain its reputation, and a family secret that Misty had been running from. Misty's hidden connection to the gym revealed itself not through a grand announcement, but through a casual, almost dismissive remark from one of her sisters. Ash, Brock and Misty had arrived at the Cerulean Gym, eager for Ash to earn his second badge. But what greeted them wasn't a battle arena, but a stage. Daisy, Violet and Lily were putting on a show for a rather sparse audience, and their performance, while visually stunning, lacked a certain spark. Misty's back, Daisy said, barely glancing at her younger sister. Finally decided to take over the gym? The air crackled with unspoken tension. Ash, ever oblivious, simply grinned. Misty, you're a gym leader? Misty's face flushed crimson. It's not like that. But it was like that. It turned out that Misty was, in fact, the 4th Cerulean Gym sister. She had abandoned her duties, her family, and the pressure of living up to her sister's expectations to pursue her own path as a Pokemon trainer. Now, standing in the very gym she had left behind, she was forced to confront her past, and her conflicted feelings were palpable. On one hand, she clearly resented the superficiality of her sister's performances, the way they seemed to prioritize beauty over battling. On the other hand, she felt a sense of guilt, a responsibility to her family and the legacy of the Cerulean Gym. Ash's battle against Misty's sisters was, to put it mildly, chaotic. The sisters, more focused on presentation than strategy, underestimated Ash's determination and Pikachu's raw power. Their Pokemon, Seel and Staryu, put up a decent fight, but they were ultimately no match for Pikachu's electric attacks and, surprisingly some, clever manoeuvring from Ash. It was less a strategic masterclass and more a testament to Ash's sheer willpower and Pikachu's unwavering loyalty. Pikachu, despite his initial reluctance, was starting to understand Ash's passion, his refusal to give up no matter the odds. The battle reached its climax when Ash faced off against Starmie, the sisters' strongest Pokemon. Starmie's powerful water attacks pushed Pikachu to his limit. It was a dizzying display of hydro pumps and water guns, and it was anyone's game. Just when it seemed Pikachu was about to fall, Ash, remembering Brock's advice, noticed something. The sprinkler system. He ordered Pikachu to aim an electric attack at the ceiling, short-circuiting the system and drenching the battlefield. The water amplified Pikachu's electricity, creating a massive surge that stunned Starmie, giving Ash the opening he needed to secure the victory. It was a risky move, bordering on reckless, but it worked. And it highlighted something crucial about Ash. He was willing to think outside the box, to use his environment to his advantage, even if it meant breaking the rules a little. The sisters, while disappointed, were impressed by Ash's unorthodox tactics. They acknowledged his victory but refused to hand over the Cascade Badge. They simply didn't believe he was a worthy trainer. This is where Misty's internal struggle truly came to the forefront. She watched Ash, covered in water and soot, beaming with pride, and saw a reflection of her own desire to prove herself. She knew Ash deserved the badge, not just because he had won the battle, but because he embodied the spirit of a true Pokemon trainer. Passion, determination, and a genuine love for his Pokemon. She stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "Give him the badge." Her sisters were stunned. "Misty, what are you doing?" "He won fair and square," she insisted. "He deserves it." A tense silence filled the gym. Finally, Daisy sighed. "Fine, but don't come crying to us when he loses in the next gym." And so the Cascade badge was earned, not just through battle, but through Misty's intervention. A step forward for Ash, a turning point for Misty. As Ash proudly pinned the badge to his jacket, Misty couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and a flicker of something else. Pride. She had stood up to her sisters, defended Ash, and in a way started to reconcile with her past. But the journey wasn't over. Misty still had a long way to go to fully understand her own aspirations, to find her place in the world. And Ash, oblivious as ever, was already setting his sights on his next challenge, completely unaware of the internal battle Misty had just fought on his behalf. The Cascade badge was more than just a symbol of victory. It was a symbol of change, of growth, and of the complex relationships that were beginning to form between Ash, Pikachu, and their ever-growing group of friends. It was a testament to the fact that sometimes, the greatest, battles are not fought on the battlefield but within ourselves. With the Cascade badge secured, Ash's journey continued, and our heroes prepared to leave Cerulean City behind. But what awaited them in Vermilion City? Get ready for Chapter 6. Vermilion City and the Shocking Surge, where Ash will face a formidable opponent unlike any he has seen before. Vermilion City. A coastal hub, a place where ships from across the seas docked, unloaded, and prepared for new voyages. The salty air hung thick, mingling with the scents of exotic goods and the ever-present tang of electricity. Yes, electricity. Because here, in this vibrant port city, Ash would face his most shocking challenge yet. The city itself was a kaleidoscope of activity. Sailors bartered in crowded marketplaces, Pokemon trainers strategized in bustling cafes. The air crackled with a palpable energy, a sense of anticipation. But dominating the cityscape, a stark contrast to the colourful chaos below, stood the Vermilion Gym. Its imposing structure seemed to hum with a hidden power, a silent warning to any challenger who dared to enter. Inside those walls resided Lieutenant Surge, the Lightning American. A towering figure of a man, a former pilot who channeled his battlefield experience into his Pokemon training. He wasn't just a gym leader, he was a force of nature, a living embodiment of raw, untamed power. His philosophy was simple, overwhelming force, and he had a Pokemon perfectly suited to deliver it, Raichu. Unlike the smaller, more agile Pikachu, Raichu was a powerhouse, bigger, stronger, and with an electrifying presence that could paralyze opponents with fear before the battle even began. When Ash stepped into the Vermilion Gym, he was met with the full force of Lieutenant Surge's personality and the intimidating size of Raichu. The battle began, and it was immediately clear that Pikachu was outmatched. Surge's Raichu was a powerhouse that overwhelmed Pikachu with brute force. Every attack, every thunderbolt, every swipe of its powerful tail sent Pikachu reeling. Ash tried to encourage his partner, to strategize, to find an opening, but Raichu was relentless. It moved with a speed that belied its size, its electric attacks crackling with enough energy to light up the entire gym. Pikachu, despite his best efforts, was taking a beating. You could see the doubt creeping into Pikachu's eyes, the hesitation in his movements. He was used to being quick, agile, resourceful. But against Raichu's sheer power, his usual tactics were useless. He was being pushed to his absolute limit, and it showed. He stumbled, he struggled, and finally he collapsed. Pikachu's near defeat, a moment of vulnerability and doubt. Ash rushed to his side, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew Pikachu was strong, but he also knew that this was a different level of challenge. He looked at Pikachu's battered form, the singed fur, the exhaustion in his eyes. And then, Lieutenant Surge offered him a choice. "Here, kid," Surge boomed, tossing a thunderstone towards Ash. "Evolve your Pikachu, give him the power he needs to win." The Thunderstone, an item capable of instantly evolving Pikachu into a Raichu. It seemed like the obvious solution, the easy way out. But Ash hesitated. He looked at the Thunderstone, then back at Pikachu. He remembered their journey together, their struggles, their triumphs. He remembered Pikachu's stubborn refusal to enter a Pokeball, his initial distrust, and the slow, hard-earned bond they had forged. Ash's decision to reject the Thunderstone, prioritizing Pikachu's preference. He knew that evolving Pikachu against his will would betray everything they had built together. It would be sacrificing their unique connection for the sake of power. So he made a decision. He picked up the Thunderstone and handed it back to Lieutenant Surge. "No," he said, his voice firm despite his fear. "We'll win our way." Surge scoffed, clearly unimpressed. But Ash's resolve didn't waver. He knew they had to find another way, a way to overcome Raichu's power without sacrificing Pikachu's individuality. He spent the next few hours brainstorming, strategizing, and analyzing Raichu's fighting style. He realized that while Raichu was powerful, it wasn't particularly fast. Its size and strength were its assets, but also its weaknesses, the rematch strategy, focusing on speed and agility to overcome power. Ash decided to focus on Pikachu's speed and agility, using his smaller size to his advantage. He trained Pikachu relentlessly, honing his reflexes, improving his footwork, and perfecting his electric attacks. He knew it was a long shot, but it was their only chance. The next day, Ash and Pikachu returned to the Vermilion gym, ready for a rematch. This time, the atmosphere was different. There was a sense of anticipation, a feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. Lieutenant Surge was waiting for them, a smirk on his face. He clearly didn't believe that Ash and Pikachu had a chance. The battle began, and immediately it was clear that Ash had a plan. Pikachu darted around the battlefield using his superior speed to evade Raichu's powerful attacks. He weaved and bobbed, moving like a lightning bolt himself, making it impossible for Raichu to land a direct hit. Ash called out commands, guiding Pikachu through a series of strategic maneuvers. He had Pikachu use agility to increase his speed even further, making him a blur of yellow energy. Raichu struggled to keep up, its attacks becoming increasingly wild and inaccurate. Pikachu used his quick attack to strike at Raichu's weak points, targeting his legs and joints, disrupting his balance. It was a David versus Goliath battle, a testament to the power of strategy and the unwavering bond between a trainer and his Pokémon. Pikachu, fueled by Ash's belief in him, fought with a determination he had never shown before. He dodged, he weaved, he struck, and he never gave up. Finally, after a grueling battle, Pikachu saw his opportunity. Raichu, exhausted and frustrated, left himself open for just a split second. Pikachu seized the moment, unleashing a powerful thunderbolt that struck Raichu square in the chest. The electric attack surged through Raichu's body, overloading his circuits and sending him crashing to the ground. Lieutenant Surge stared in disbelief as Raichu lay defeated. He had underestimated Ash and Pikachu, had dismissed their potential because of their size and inexperience. He had learned a valuable lesson that day, that true strength comes not from brute force, but from strategy, determination, and the unbreakable bond between a trainer and his Pokémon. Ash had earned his third badge, the Thunder Badge, a symbol of his victory over Lieutenant Surge and his Raichu. But more importantly, he had proven to himself and to Pikachu that they could overcome any challenge, no matter how daunting, as long as they worked together. The experience in Vermilion City, the shocking surge of power, the near defeat, and the ultimate triumph had forged an even stronger bond between Ash and Pikachu. They were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, and believe me, there were plenty more to come. Up next, the team begins to take shape in ways you can't imagine. Next time, we'll explore how Ash begins expanding the team, Caterpie and Pidgeotto, and what those new additions will mean for their journey. Ash's journey wasn't just about collecting badges, it was about building a family, and that family started to grow in some truly unexpected ways. Remember that burning desire for Ash to become a Pokémon master? Well, to achieve that, he needed a team. Not just Pikachu, but a diverse group of Pokémon with different strengths, weaknesses, and personalities. The first addition to that team came in the form of a small, green, and undeniably, well, buggy Pokémon, Caterpie. Ash's initial reaction to seeing Caterpie was pure, unadulterated excitement. He saw potential, a future powerhouse, a loyal companion. He envisioned Caterpie battling alongside him, conquering gyms, and reaching the pinnacle of the Pokemon League. He was ready to catch it no matter what. Misty, on the other hand, let's just say her reaction was a little different. Imagine the scene. Ash, eyes sparkling with determination, spots Caterpie nestled amongst some leaves. He pulls out a Pokeball ready to make his first official catch. Misty, standing nearby, lets out a shriek that could rival a Spearow's. "You! What is that thing?" she cries, backing away slowly. "It's green! It's got all those legs! It's disgusting!" Misty's aversion to bug-type Pokemon was, shall we say, pronounced. It was a deep-seated, visceral reaction that bordered on phobia. Caterpie, with its caterpillar-like appearance and wiggly movements, was pretty much her worst nightmare. But Ash, ever the optimist, was undeterred. He saw past Caterpie's unique appearance and focused on its potential. He knew that every Pokemon, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, had something special to offer. So, with a determined glint in his eye, Ash launched the Pokeball. A satisfying click echoed through the forest, signalling his first successful capture. Caterpie was officially part of the team, but the story of Caterpie doesn't end there. In fact, it was just the beginning of a rather remarkable transformation. You see, Caterpie wasn't just any Pokemon. It was a Pokemon with a serious need for speed, evolutionary speed, that is. It wasn't long before Caterpie began to change. The process was rapid, almost unbelievably so. One day, it was a crawling caterpillar. The next, it was encased in a hard green shell. Caterpie had evolved into Metapod. Metapod, as you might know, isn't exactly known for its dynamism. It spends most of its time hanging from trees, motionless, conserving energy for its next evolution. For Ash, this meant a temporary pause in Caterpie's battling prowess. But he remained patient, understanding that this was a necessary step in its growth. Misty, meanwhile, was slightly relieved. A stationary bug was far less terrifying than a crawling one. But the peace didn't last for long. In what felt like the blink of an eye, Metapod began to glow. The hard shell cracked open, revealing a brand new Pokemon. Caterpie had evolved again, this time into the graceful and beautiful Butterfree. Butterfree, with its large, colourful wings and gentle nature, was a far cry from the creepy, crawly Caterpie that Misty had initially recoiled from. Even she had to admit, albeit grudgingly, that it was kind of pretty. Ash was ecstatic. His little Caterpie had grown into a powerful and elegant Pokemon. He couldn't wait to see what Butterfree could do in battle. Now, while Caterpie's evolution was a whirlwind, Ash's next capture was a little more straightforward. As he continued his journey, he encountered a common sight in the Kanto region, a Pidgey. But this wasn't just any Pidgey, it was a Pidgey with a certain swagger. It strutted around, puffed out its chest, and generally acted like it owned the place. Ash knew that this was a Pokemon with potential, a Pokemon that could become a valuable asset to his team. Catching Pidgeotto, the evolved form of Pidgey, was a more straightforward affair than the Caterpie saga. Ash had learned from his previous battles, honing his strategies and understanding of Pokemon types. He knew that Pikachu's electric attacks would be super effective against the flying-type Pidgeotto, giving him a significant advantage. The battle was swift and decisive. Pikachu unleashed a thunderbolt, striking Pidgeotto with a surge of electricity. The bird Pokemon, weakened but not defeated, struggled to stay airborne. Ash seized the opportunity and tossed a Pokeball. Click. Another successful capture. Pidgeotto joined the team, bringing with it a new set of skills and abilities. With Caterpie and Pidgeotto now part of his growing team, the dynamics within the group began to shift. Ash, Misty, Pikachu, Caterpie and Pidgeotto were becoming a makeshift family, each with their own quirks and personalities. Ash, the enthusiastic and determined leader, was learning to balance his own desires with the needs of his Pokemon. He understood that each Pokemon was an individual, with its own strengths, weaknesses, and dreams. Misty, still somewhat skeptical of Pokemon in general, was slowly starting to warm up to the idea of having these creatures around. She saw the bond between Ash and his Pokemon, the loyalty and affection that they shared, and she couldn't help but be a little bit intrigued. Caterpie, now Butterfree, was a symbol of growth and transformation. It showed that even the smallest and most unassuming creatures could achieve great things. Pidgeotto, the proud and powerful bird Pokemon, brought a sense of strength and confidence to the team. It was a reminder that Ash was becoming a skilled and capable trainer. But even as the team grew stronger, a subtle undercurrent of foreshadowing began to emerge, a sense that not all good things last forever. A hint that some partings, no matter how painful, are necessary for growth. You see, the bond between Ash and Butterfree was special, unique, but destiny has a way of intervening, of guiding us down paths we never expected. And for Butterfree, that path would lead it far away from Ash, towards a love and a purpose that only it could fulfill. The day is coming when Ash will have to say goodbye to his beloved Butterfree. Get ready for the heartbreaking story of Bye Bye Butterfree, A Farewell to Innocence. Have you ever felt the bittersweet sting of letting go? It's a universal human experience, and surprisingly, it's one that finds a poignant echo in Ash Ketchum's early journey. We're about to explore a chapter that marks a significant shift in tone, a farewell to innocence that resonates even today. Bye Bye Butterfree. Up until this point, Ash's adventures had been largely defined by the thrill of the catch, the excitement of battling, and the camaraderie of his growing team. But this particular episode delves into something deeper, the complex emotions tied to growth, change, and the inevitable goodbyes that come with them. It's a story about Butterfree's search for a mate, a touching and relatable storyline that caught viewers completely off guard. Think back to Caterpie, the timid green Pokemon that Ash caught early in his travels. Remember how quickly it evolved, first into Metapod and then into the graceful Butterfree. This rapid transformation mirrored Ash's own accelerated journey, a young boy thrust into the world of Pokemon training, learning, and evolving at an equally breakneck pace. But unlike Ash, Butterfree's evolution led him to a different kind of journey, one dictated by instinct and the call of nature. The episode opens with Ash and his friends observing a large swarm of Butterfree soaring across the sky. Brock, ever the knowledgeable one, explains that it's their mating season, a crucial time for them to find partners and continue their species. You can almost feel the excitement in the air, the palpable sense of anticipation as the Butterfree prepare for this important migration. But amidst the flurry of wings and vibrant colours, Ash notices something different about his own Butterfree. He seems hesitant, almost uncertain, as he attempts to join the other Butterfree in their aerial dance. It's a subtle but telling moment, highlighting the unique bond between Ash and his Pokemon, a bond that transcends mere ownership. Ash isn't just a trainer, he's a friend, a caretaker, and a confidant. As the Butterfree embark on their quest, the challenges they face become increasingly clear. Strong winds buffet them, relentless rain threatens to ground them, and the ever-present threat of Team Rocket looms large. It's during these trials that Butterfree's determination truly shines. He valiantly protects the other Butterfree, using his abilities to shield them from harm and guide them through the storm. This isn't just about finding a mate, it's about proving his worth, demonstrating his strength, and fulfilling his natural purpose. And then comes the moment that tugs at the heartstrings. Butterfree finally encounters a pink Butterfree, a potential mate who seems unimpressed by his initial advances. The scene is both humorous and endearing, as Butterfree tries everything he can think of to win her over. He performs acrobatic feats, showcases his dazzling wing patterns, and even attempts to communicate with her in his own unique way. But it's not until he bravely defends her from a Team Rocket attack that she finally takes notice. In a display of selfless courage, Butterfree puts himself in harm's way to protect her, proving that his love is not just skin deep. This is the turning point, the moment when their connection solidifies and a genuine bond begins to form. This brings us to the emotional weight of letting go Ash's first major sacrifice. As the Butterfree pair off and prepare to continue their migration, Ash faces a difficult decision. He knows that Butterfree belongs with his own kind, that his true destiny lies in the wild, not by his side. It's a realization that dawns slowly, painfully, as he grapples with the prospect of saying goodbye. The farewell scene is a tearful goodbye that resonates with viewers. Ash, Misty, and Brock stand on the shore waving goodbye as Butterfree flies off into the sunset with his new mate. It's a poignant moment, filled with both sadness and joy. Sadness for the loss of a beloved companion, but joy for Butterfree's newfound happiness and freedom. You can see the tears welling up in Ash's eyes as he whispers his final farewell. It's a raw, unfiltered display of emotion that underscores the depth of his connection with his Pokémon. This isn't just about saying goodbye to a Butterfree. It's about saying goodbye to a part of himself, a piece of his own innocence. The impact of Butterfree's departure on Ash's understanding of Pokémon is profound. He begins to realise that Pokémon are not simply tools to be used in battle, but living, breathing creatures with their own desires, needs, and destinies. It's a lesson that will stay with him throughout his journey, shaping his approach to training and his relationships with all of his Pokémon. He understands that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go, allowing those you care about to pursue their own paths, even if it means parting ways. This understanding matures him, marking a significant step in his personal growth. He begins to appreciate the complexities of the Pokémon world, recognizing that it's not just about winning battles and collecting badges, but about respecting the natural order and fostering harmonious relationships. And beyond Ash's personal growth, the episode itself marks a shift in tone. The series begins to explore more mature themes. Bye Bye Butterfree demonstrated that Pokémon wasn't just for kids. It could tackle complex emotions and explore deeper themes of love, loss, and sacrifice. This episode paved the way for future storylines that delved into more serious topics, solidifying the series' appeal to a wider audience. It's a testament to the power of storytelling that an animated show about fantastical creatures could evoke such strong emotions. Bye Bye Butterfree is more than just a children's episode. It's a timeless tale about the universal experience of letting go, a reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts we can give are freedom and independence. It's a chapter that reminds you that even in the world of Pokémon, love, loss, and the bittersweet beauty of change are ever present. Think back to that image of Butterfree soaring into the sunset, a symbol of hope, freedom, and the enduring power of love. It's a powerful reminder that even though goodbyes can be painful, they often pave the way for new beginnings and unexpected adventures. It's a far cry from the naive boy who set out from Pallet Town with Pikachu, reluctantly trailing behind. But what if the Pokémon you rescue becomes the one that needs rescuing? That's the question we'll be exploring next as we delve into the troubled tale of Charmander. The world isn't always kind, especially to those who are vulnerable, and sometimes the greatest acts of cruelty come not from malice, but from neglect. This is a story about a Pokémon left behind, a symbol of something far more profound than just abandonment. It's the troubled tale of Charmander. Picture this: a small, orange, lizard-like creature perched precariously on a rain-soaked rock. Its tail flame, usually a vibrant beacon of life, flickers weakly, threatened by the downpour. This wasn't just any Charmander. This was a Charmander left to the whims of fate, a victim of its trainer's callous disregard. What could drive someone to such heartlessness? We find Charmander in the pouring rain, waiting for a trainer who had promised to return, a trainer who had sworn allegiance. But promises are fragile things, especially when made by those who lack empathy. The trainer had issued a cruel ultimatum: stay on this rock, and I will come back. But as the hours turned into days, and the rain continued to fall, Charmander's hope began to dwindle. Each drop of rain was a tear unshed, each gust of wind a whispered doubt. This is where Ash enters the story, not as a seasoned hero, but as a boy with a heart too big to ignore suffering. He and his companions, Misty and Brock, stumble upon the stranded Charmander, its condition rapidly deteriorating. Ash, ever the optimist, immediately recognizes the gravity of the situation. He sees not just a Pokémon in need, but a living being deserving of compassion. Ash's compassion and determination to rescue Charmander were immediate and unwavering. He wouldn't stand idly by while life slipped away. Despite Misty's reservations about interfering and Brock's practical concerns about Charmander's health, Ash was resolute. He knew he had to act. He had to try. Ignoring the pouring rain, Ash approaches the shivering Charmander, his voice gentle and reassuring. He offers words of comfort, a stark contrast to the harsh indifference Charmander had experienced. He extends a hand, not in dominance, but in friendship. Charmander, weakened but not broken, looks up at Ash, its eyes filled with a mixture of hope and skepticism. But the task wasn't easy. Charmander, loyal to a fault, refused to abandon the rock, clinging to the vain hope that its original trainer would return. Ash pleaded, reasoned, and even attempted to physically move Charmander, but the little Pokemon remained steadfast, its loyalty a tragic testament to misplaced trust. Brock, ever the pragmatist, explained the dire consequences of Charmander's stubbornness. The flickering tail flame was directly linked to its life force. If the flame went out, Charmander would perish. The rain was only exacerbating the situation, slowly extinguishing the last embers of hope. Seeing Charmander's unwavering loyalty, Ash was moved. He understood the power of belief, the strength of a promise. But he also knew that blind faith could be deadly. He resolved to stay with Charmander, to wait alongside it, to prove that not all humans were cruel and uncaring. As night fell, the rain intensified, and Charmander's flame grew weaker. Ash, Misty and Brock huddled together, sharing body heat and words of encouragement. Ash refused to leave Charmander's side, his determination fueled by a deep sense of responsibility. He would not let this Pokemon die. Suddenly a familiar figure appeared in the distance. It was the original trainer Damien, returning not out of remorse, but out of amusement. He mocked Charmander's loyalty, boasting about how weak and pathetic it was. His words were like daggers, piercing the fragile hope that Charmander still held. Ash, enraged by Damien's callousness, confronted him. He defended Charmander's honour, berating Damien for his cruelty and neglect. A battle ensued, not just between trainers, but between ideologies. Compassion versus indifference, loyalty versus betrayal. During the battle, Charmander, witnessing Damien's true nature, finally understood the depth of his betrayal. The realization shattered its illusion, and the flame on its tail flickered dangerously low. Ash, seeing Charmander's despair, knew he had to act fast. He scooped up the weakened Charmander and rushed it to the nearest Pokemon Center. Nurse Joy, with her expert care, stabilized Charmander, but its condition remained critical. Ash stayed by its side throughout the night, offering words of encouragement and unwavering support. Slowly, painstakingly, Charmander began to recover. As its strength returned, so did its trust, but this time it was directed towards Ash. Charmander saw in Ash a true friend, a compassionate soul who had risked everything to save its life. This marked the beginning of Charmander's loyalty and gratitude towards Ash, a bond forged in the fires of adversity. Once fully recovered, Charmander eagerly joined Ash on his journey, its tail flame burning brighter than ever before. It was eager to prove its worth, to repay Ash's kindness with unwavering loyalty and fierce determination. Charmander became a valuable member of the team, its fire-type abilities proving invaluable in battles against tough opponents. But the story doesn't end there. As Charmander battled and grew stronger, it began to evolve, and this evolution marked a turning point. The evolution into Charmeleon was a turning point in Charmander's personality. It grew stronger, faster, more powerful. But with this newfound power came a shift in attitude. Charmeleon became rebellious, disobedient, and arrogant. It began to disregard Ash's commands, battling only when it felt like it, and often showing off its superior strength. This disobedience wasn't simply a matter of teenage angst. It was a consequence of its rapid evolution, a side effect of its newfound power. Charmeleon had evolved too quickly, its personality unable to keep pace with its physical transformation. It was a creature caught between two worlds, unsure of its place and unwilling to submit to authority. Ash, heartbroken by Charmeleon's change in attitude, tried everything to regain control. He reasoned, pleaded, and even battled alongside Charmeleon, but nothing seemed to work. Charmeleon remained defiant, its loyalty seemingly forgotten. This period of disobedience was a challenging time for Ash. He questioned his abilities as a trainer, wondering if he had failed Charmeleon somehow. He sought advice from Brock and Misty, but even their wisdom couldn't solve the problem. It seemed as though the bond they had forged was irrevocably broken. This struggle with Charmeleon wasn't just a personal challenge for Ash, it was a foreshadowing of Charizard's disobedience and the challenges ahead. It was a glimpse into the complexities of Pokemon training, a reminder that strength and loyalty weren't always guaranteed. It was a lesson that Ash would carry with him throughout his journey, shaping his approach to Pokemon training and his understanding of the bonds between humans and Pokemon. The story of Charmander is a powerful reminder that even the smallest spark of hope can ignite a flame of change. It's a testament to the power of compassion, the importance of loyalty, and the challenges that come with growth and evolution, and it sets the stage for even greater trials to come, because not all gyms are created equal. Prepare yourself, because next, we're heading into Cerulean, Fuchsia and Saffron, trials and tribulations. Cerulean City, a vibrant metropolis, a stark contrast to the rugged landscapes Ash had been traversing. But beneath the city's dazzling facade lay a sinister secret, one that Ash would soon stumble upon in the unlikeliest of places. Who would have thought that Team Rocket, those bumbling buffoons, would operate a clandestine headquarters right under everyone's noses, masquerading as a simple game corner? You see, the colourful lights and the sounds of spinning slots hid a hidden passage, a descent into the underbelly of Cerulean City where Team Rocket plotted their schemes. Ash, ever perceptive and driven by his unwavering sense of justice, couldn't ignore the suspicious activity he witnessed. It wasn't just the unusually high payout rate at one particular slot machine, it was the furtive glances, the hushed whispers, and the unmistakable air of secrecy that permeated the place. This wasn't about winning a prize, this was about uncovering the truth. So, Ash, Pikachu by his side, embarked on an investigation, navigating the crowded arcade with a purpose. He observed the employees, memorized their routines, and searched for any clue that might expose their deception. It was a risky move, venturing into the heart of enemy territory, but Ash knew he had to expose Team Rocket's operation. The infiltration of Team Rocket's Game Corner hideout was a masterclass in courage and determination. Ash wasn't just battling Pokémon, he was battling an organization, a network of criminals who threatened the very fabric of the Kanto region. He had to outsmart them, outmaneuver them, and ultimately defeat them. And what about Fuchsia City? A place shrouded in mystery, known for its unique blend of nature and ninja artistry. Here, Ash faced a different kind of challenge, one that tested his agility, his strategy, and his understanding of unconventional battle tactics. Koga's gym was unlike anything Ash had encountered before. It was a labyrinth of illusions, a training ground designed to disorient and confuse challengers. The art of ninja-style battling wasn't just about brute force, it was about stealth, deception, and exploiting your opponent's weaknesses. Koga, the gym leader, was a master of this art, using his Pokemon's abilities to create smokescreens, mirror images, and other illusions that made it nearly impossible to land a direct hit. Ash had to adapt, to learn to see through the smoke and mirrors, to anticipate Koga's every move. He studied Koga's techniques, observed his Pokemon's movements, and developed a strategy that would allow him to overcome the gym leader's trickery. It wasn't easy. He faced countless setbacks, moments of frustration, and times when he doubted his ability to succeed. But Ash never gave up. He persevered, driven by his dream of becoming a Pokémon master. The badge earned in Fuchsia City was a testament to Ash's adaptability and perseverance. It proved that he could overcome any challenge, no matter how unconventional or difficult. It was a symbol of his growth as a trainer, his ability to learn from his mistakes, and his unwavering determination to achieve his goals. Then there was Saffron City, a place where psychic powers reigned supreme. Here, Ash faced perhaps his most unsettling challenge yet. Sabrina, the gym leader, possessed extraordinary psychic abilities, able to move objects with her mind and even foresee the future. Her gym was not a place for simple battles. It was a twisted playground where reality itself seemed to bend to her will. Sabrina's psychic powers manifested in terrifying ways. The gym was filled with illusions, shifting corridors, and objects that moved on their own accord. But the most unsettling thing of all was Sabrina's dollhouse. It wasn't just a child's toy. It was a gateway to another dimension, a place where Sabrina could trap her opponents and subject them to her psychic whims. Ash found himself transported to this dollhouse, a miniature world where he was at Sabrina's mercy. He was shrunk down to the size of a toy, forced to navigate the dollhouse's treacherous rooms and evade Sabrina's psychic attacks. It was a terrifying experience, one that tested his courage and his sanity. The diverse challenges faced in Cerulean, Fuchsia and Saffron showcased the variety of gym leaders and their unique styles. Each gym leader presented a different obstacle, a different test of Ash's skills and abilities. Erica in Cerulean, with her mastery of grass-type Pokémon and her serene demeanour. Koga in Fuchsia, with his ninja-like tactics and his mastery of deception. And Sabrina in Saffron, with her psychic powers and her unsettling control over reality. These gym leaders weren't just opponents. They were mentors, teachers who helped Ash grow as a trainer and as a person. They taught him the importance of strategy, adaptability, and perseverance. They showed him that there was more to Pokemon battling than just brute force. And the badges earned in each city were not just trophies, they were symbols of Ash's progress, his growth as a trainer, and his unwavering commitment to his dream. They represented the challenges he had overcome, the lessons he had learned, and the friendships he had forged along the way. Ash's journey through Kanto was a crucible, a trial by fire that forged him into the Pokemon trainer he was destined to become. He faced adversity, he experienced setbacks, and he made mistakes. But he never gave up. He learned from his experiences, he grew stronger with each challenge, and he ultimately emerged victorious. These trials and tribulations shaped Ash's character, honing his skills and solidifying his resolve. He learned to adapt to different environments, to strategize against different opponents, and to overcome his fears. He discovered the importance of teamwork, the power of friendship, and the unwavering bond between a trainer and their Pokemon. And while these badges represented victories, they also represented something more profound, the ever-deepening connection between Ash and Pikachu. Through every battle, every challenge, their bond grew stronger. Pikachu, initially reluctant and distrustful, had come to see Ash as a true friend, a loyal companion, and a worthy trainer. The journey was far from over. More challenges awaited, more gym leaders to face, and more Pokemon to befriend. But Ash was ready. He had proven himself time and time again, demonstrating his courage, his determination, and his unwavering commitment to his dream. He knew that with Pikachu by his side, he could overcome any obstacle and achieve his ultimate goal, to become a Pokemon master. But even as Ash faced these formidable trials, new allies were on the horizon, ready to join his growing team. Next time, we'll see how Ash expands his circle of friends and Pokemon, uncovering the story behind the Squirtle Squad and other acquisitions. Have you ever met a group of rebels with a cause, even if that cause was mostly just causing trouble? That's exactly what Ash encountered in the form of the Squirtle Squad. These weren't your average docile Squirtle. Oh no, these were a band of mischievous Pokemon sporting cool sunglasses and a serious attitude. They were the self-proclaimed protectors, or perhaps more accurately the self-appointed rulers, of a small town struggling with a raging fire. They weren't setting the fires, mind you, but they certainly weren't helping to put them out either. Their idea of firefighting was more along the lines of squirting water at anything that moved, including the firefighters themselves. Ash stumbled upon this chaos while trying to help extinguish the blaze, and what he found was a group of Squirtle completely uninterested in doing the right thing. They were having too much fun causing mayhem, but Ash, ever the optimist, saw something beneath their tough exterior. He saw a group of Pokemon who deep down wanted to do good, they just needed a little guidance. So began Ash's efforts to earn their trust and more, specifically to recruit their leader, a particularly cool Squirtle with uniquely shaped sunglasses. It wasn't easy. He had to prove himself to them, showing them that he wasn't just another clueless human trying to boss them around. He had to understand their motivations, their fears, and their desires. He started by helping them rescue a little girl who was trapped in a burning building. Ash, Pikachu, and even the Squirtle Squad worked together, putting aside their differences for the greater good. It was a turning point. The Squirtle Squad began to see Ash not as an enemy, but as an ally. The leader, the cool Squirtle, was especially impressed by Ash's bravery and selflessness. He started to question his own motives, wondering if perhaps there was more to life than just causing trouble. He saw in Ash a genuine desire to help others, a desire that resonated with him on a deeper level. After helping to finally put out the fire, the Squirtle Squad faced a choice. They could continue their life of mischief, or they could use their abilities for good. Ash extended an invitation to the leader, asking him to join his team. It was a difficult decision, but in the end, the Squirtle Squad leader chose to embark on a new adventure with Ash, leaving the rest of the squad to protect the town, now with a newfound sense of responsibility. This Squirtle, now a member of Ash's team, brought a unique set of skills and a whole lot of personality. He was a natural leader, always ready to jump into action and protect his friends. He was also a bit of a showman, always eager to show off his cool sunglasses and his water-based moves. But the Squirtle Squad wasn't the only addition to Ash's growing team. In the midst of his Kanto journey, Ash found himself on the shores of a beach where he made a rather unusual catch. Picture this. Ash, determined to expand his roster of Pokemon, casting his line into the ocean. He anticipates a powerful water type, perhaps a majestic Gyarados or a swift Staryu. Instead, what he reels in is Krabby. Yes, Krabby. A tiny, seemingly insignificant crab Pokemon. Ash was initially underwhelmed. Krabby was small, weak, and frankly, not exactly what he had in mind. But a Pokemon is a Pokemon, right? So, with a shrug and a chuckle, Ash caught Krabby. What followed was a humorous and unexpected addition to the team, though you wouldn't know it. Because immediately after catching Krabby, Ash, following Professor Oak's advice on Pokemon storage, immediately sent Krabby to Oak's lab. This became a running gag throughout the series, with Krabby's power and surprising strength revealed only later. But the acquisitions didn't stop there. Ash's journey continued to lead him to new Pokemon, each with their own unique abilities and personalities. And that leads us to another Pokemon that Ash added to his team, Muk. Now, Muk is a Pokemon that requires a certain level of tolerance. It's a living pile of sludge, a talking mass of purple goo. It's not exactly the most aesthetically pleasing Pokemon, and its odour, let's just say it's not exactly Chanel No. 5. But despite its less than desirable qualities, Muk is an incredibly powerful Pokemon. It's strong, resilient, and surprisingly affectionate, in its own slimy way. And Ash, seeing past its exterior, recognised Muk's potential and decided to catch it. Catching Muk was, as you might imagine, a messy but ultimately rewarding capture. Muk didn't exactly go down without a fight. It covered Ash in sludge, making him smell like a garbage dump. But Ash persevered, showing Muk that he wasn't afraid of a little of goo. In the end, Muk, touched by Ash's determination, allowed itself to be captured. And while it may not have been the most glamorous addition to the team, it was certainly a valuable one. Muk's strength and resilience proved to be invaluable in many battles to come. So, what you're seeing is the growing roster of Pokemon highlighting Ash's evolving team composition. From the mischievous Squirtle Squad leader to the diminutive Krabby and the, shall we say, unique Muk, Ash's team was becoming a diverse and powerful force to be reckoned with. Each Pokemon brought something different to the table, complementing each other's strengths and weaknesses. Ash was learning that building a strong team wasn't just about catching the most powerful Pokemon. It was about finding Pokemon that he connected with, Pokemon that he could trust, and Pokemon that he could work with. It was about building a team that was more than just a collection of individuals. It was about building a family. And as Ash's team grew, so did his understanding of what it meant to be a Pokemon trainer. He was learning that it wasn't just about winning battles. It was about forming bonds with his Pokemon, about helping them grow and develop, and about protecting them from harm. He was learning that being a Pokemon trainer was about being a friend, a mentor, and a leader. And with each new Pokemon he caught, with each new challenge he faced, he was becoming a better trainer, a better person, and a better friend. But even as Ash was building his team and honing his skills, he was about to face a challenge that would test him in ways he never imagined. A challenge that would force him to make a difficult decision, a decision that would change his team forever. Get ready, because next time we'll be talking about Pidgeot's sacrifice. A flock of Spearow can be a terrifying force of nature. Imagine a swirling mass of sharp beaks and relentless wings descending upon the unsuspecting, and you begin to understand the threat they pose to the Pidgey and Pidgeotto populations in the Viridian Forest. These weren't just a few stray birds. This was a coordinated group driven by instinct and hunger, and they were disrupting the delicate balance of the ecosystem. The Pidgey and Pidgeotto, normally peaceful inhabitants of the forest, found themselves under constant siege. Their nests were raided, their young were threatened, and fear became a constant companion. It was a desperate situation, one that required a powerful response. The forest needed a protector, someone strong enough to stand against the Spearow and restore order. And that's precisely when Pidgeotto began to glow. Evolution. It's a concept we often see in the world of Pokemon, a testament to their inherent potential for growth and change. But witnessing it firsthand, especially in a moment of crisis, is something else entirely. It's a surge of energy, a visible manifestation of inner strength, and in Pidgeotto's case, it was a transformation born out of necessity. The light intensified, enveloping Pidgeotto completely. Ash and Pikachu shielded their eyes, feeling the raw power emanating from the evolving Pokémon. When the light finally subsided, Pidgeotto was gone. In its place stood Pidgeot, a magnificent creature with plumage of gold and cream, its wings vast and powerful. This was no longer a simple bird Pokémon. This was a symbol of hope, a beacon of defiance against the encroaching darkness. The evolution was more than just a physical change. It was a moment of profound responsibility. Pidgeot now possessed the power to protect the forest, to safeguard the vulnerable Pidgey and Pidgeotto from the Spearow flock. But with that power came a choice. Would Pidgeot use it for personal gain, or would it embrace its new role as guardian? Ash watched, his heart swelling with pride. He knew instinctively that Pidgeot would choose the path of selfless service. He had seen that inherent goodness in Pidgeotto, a willingness to help others, and he knew that evolution would only amplify those qualities. But he also knew that this decision would come at a cost. The battle was fierce, a whirlwind of feathers and furious cries. Pidgeot, with its newfound strength and speed, met the Spearow head-on. It soared through the sky, dodging attacks and delivering powerful gusts of wind that scattered the Spearow flock. But there were many, and they were relentless. Pidgeot fought bravely, tirelessly defending the Pidgey and Pidgeotto. It drove the Spearow back, pushing them further and further away from the forest. But as the battle raged on, a realization began to dawn on Ash. Pidgeot was fighting not just for the present, but for the future of the forest. This wasn't a temporary skirmish, it was a long-term commitment. And that's when Pidgeot made its decision. It wouldn't leave, it wouldn't continue its journey with Ash. Its place was here, protecting the wild Pokémon, ensuring the safety and survival of its own kind. It was a selfless act, a sacrifice made out of a deep sense of responsibility and compassion. Imagine the weight of that decision, the understanding that a chapter of its life was coming to a close. To choose duty over friendship, protection over personal ambition. It speaks volumes about the character of Pidgeot and the bond it shared with the creatures of the forest. Ash understood. He saw the determination in Pidgeot's eyes, the unwavering commitment to its new role. And though his heart ached at the thought of parting ways, he knew that he couldn't ask Pidgeot to abandon its purpose. The farewell was difficult, a moment charged with emotion. Ash approached Pidgeot, his hand outstretched. Pidgeot lowered its head, nuzzling Ash's hand gently. It was a silent exchange, a confirmation of their bond, a promise that they would never forget each other. Tears welled up in Ash's eyes. He'd come to rely on Pidgeotto, and now Pidgey, as a powerful ally and a loyal friend. But he also recognized the importance of Pidgeot's decision. The forest needed its protector, and Ash couldn't stand in the way of that. He released Pidgeot from its Pokeball, allowing it to embrace its freedom and its responsibility. With a final, heartfelt goodbye, Pidgey soared into the sky, joining the other Pidgey and Pidgeotto. It circled overhead, a majestic guardian watching over its charges. Ash watched until Pidgeot was just a speck in the distance, a golden silhouette against the vast blue canvas. He knew that he would never forget this moment, this sacrifice, this powerful lesson about the importance of protecting the environment. It was more than just saying goodbye to a friend. It was about understanding the delicate balance of nature, the interconnectedness of all living things, and the responsibility that humans have to safeguard the world around them. Ash had always been driven by a desire to become a Pokémon master, but this experience added a new dimension to his ambition. It wasn't just about winning battles and collecting badges, it was about making a positive impact on the world, about protecting the vulnerable and standing up for what is right. This experience underscored a critical lesson that often goes unnoticed. The environment isn't just a backdrop for our adventures, it's an integral part of the journey. The Pokémon, the forests, the rivers, they all rely on each other for survival, and it's our duty to protect that delicate balance. Ash's journey was never just about him. It was about the Pokémon he befriended, the lessons he learned, and the impact he had on the world around him. Pidgeot's sacrifice served as a powerful reminder of that, a catalyst for change that would shape Ash's actions for years to come. He left the Viridian Forest with a heavier heart, but also with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the road ahead would be long and challenging, but he was determined to continue his journey, to become a Pokémon master who not only battled with skill and strength, but also with compassion and understanding. The memory of Pidgey would serve as a constant reminder of the responsibility that came with power, the importance of protecting the environment, and the unwavering bond between humans and Pokémon. Ash carried that lesson with him as he continued his quest, knowing that true strength lies not just in victory, but in sacrifice. And so, with a final glance back at the forest, Ash and Pikachu continued on their way, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But the sting of parting ways with Pidgey lingered. The bond they shared, though powerful, was now a memory, a bittersweet reminder of the sacrifices required on the path to achieving one's dreams. But how would this impact his journey? What would he learn from the challenges ahead? He had collected badges, forged friendships, and even said goodbye to a dear companion. But the ultimate test of his abilities, the true measure of his worth as a trainer, was fast approaching. The culmination of his efforts, the proving ground where legends were made, awaited him. Soon, Ash would arrive at his destination, where all of his training, all of his sacrifices, would be put to the ultimate test. The Indigo Plateau, dreams dashed. The Indigo Plateau. Just the name conjures images of grandeur, doesn't it? It's more than just a building. It's a monument to every trainer's ambition, a beacon of hope shining brightly for those who dare to dream of being the very best. For Ash Ketchum, it was the culmination of everything he had worked for, every battle fought, every friend made. The excitement and anticipation of the Kanto League were palpable. You could practically taste it in the air, thick with the scent of popcorn, anticipation, and the electric buzz of thousands of Pokémon ready to battle. The stadium itself was a marvel, a colossal arena designed to host the most spectacular Pokémon battles the world had ever seen. Imagine the roar of the crowd, a tidal wave of energy crashing over you as you stepped onto the battlefield. For Ash, it was the moment he had been waiting for since that fateful morning when he overslept and missed out on his first choice of a starter Pokémon. And the early rounds? They were a testament to Ash's growth as a trainer. He wasn't just throwing Pokémon into the fray anymore. He was thinking strategically, utilising type matchups, and even incorporating some of the unorthodox techniques he had picked up along his journey. Remember Krabby, the tiny crab Pokémon he caught early on and rarely used? It suddenly became a powerhouse, surprising opponents with its raw strength and surprising speed. Muk, the giant sludge Pokémon, proved to be an immovable object, absorbing attacks that would have crippled lesser Pokémon. These weren't just victories, they were statements. Ash's early victories showcased his progress and strategic growth. He was learning to adapt, to think on his feet, and to trust his Pokémon. He wasn't just relying on brute force, he was using his head. This was a new Ash, a far cry from the inexperienced kid who left Pallet Town with nothing but a Pikachu and a dream. But the road to the top is never easy, is it? And standing in Ash's way was a trainer named Richie. The battle against Richie presented a unique challenge, a clash of similar trainers with different approaches. Richie, like Ash, was a young, enthusiastic trainer with a strong bond with his Pokémon. He also had a Pikachu, nicknamed Sparky, which immediately sparked a sense of rivalry and perhaps even a little bit of camaraderie between the two trainers. But while Ash often relied on his gut instincts and a more aggressive style, Richie was more calculated, more methodical in his approach. He studied his opponents, planned his strategies carefully, and always seemed to have a trick up his sleeve. The battle was intense, a back-and-forth exchange of attacks and counter-attacks. Ash's Pokémon fought hard, but Richie's were equally resilient. It was clear that this was going to be a close match, a test of not only skill, but also of endurance and determination. But then, disaster struck. Charizard's disobedience became a devastating blow to Ash's chances. You remember Charizard, right? The powerful fire-type Pokémon who evolved from Charmander, the abandoned Pokémon Ash rescued from the rain. Charizard had always been a bit of a wild card, often ignoring Ash's commands and doing whatever he pleased. But in this crucial battle, his disobedience reached a new level. He simply refused to battle. He stood there, wings spread, eyes half closed, as if he was too bored to even acknowledge the opponent in front of him. Ash pleaded, he yelled, he even tried to reason with him, but Charizard wouldn't budge. He was a force of nature, untamed and uncontrollable, and in that moment, he became Ash's biggest liability. The referee had no choice. Because Charizard refused to battle, Ash was disqualified. The loss to Richie was a crushing blow, a humbling experience, and a lesson in humility. All the hard work, all the sacrifices, all the victories seemed to vanish in an instant, replaced by a bitter taste of defeat. Can you imagine the feeling? The weight of disappointment, the sting of failure, the realization that your dream, the dream you had chased for so long, was slipping away. It was more than just losing a battle, it was losing a part of yourself. The stadium seemed to shrink. The roar of the crowd faded into a dull murmur, and the bright lights felt like spotlights shining on his failure. Ash had come so far only to stumble at the final hurdle. He had learned so much, only to be undone by his own Pokémon, but even in defeat there is always a lesson to be learned. Ash realised that true strength wasn't just about winning battles. It was about building bonds, earning respect, and learning from your mistakes. He had to find a way to connect with Charizard, to earn his trust and his obedience. He had to become a better trainer, not just in terms of strategy, but also in terms of understanding and empathy. The loss to Richie, as painful as it was, served as a wake-up call. It forced Ash to confront his own shortcomings and to reevaluate his approach to training. It was a humbling experience, but it was also a necessary one. It was a reminder that the path to becoming a Pokémon master is not a straight line. It's a winding road filled with obstacles and challenges, triumphs and defeats. Ash had tasted defeat before, but this one felt different. This one felt like a turning point. He knew that he couldn't give up, that he had to keep moving forward even if the road ahead seemed uncertain. He had to find a way to overcome this setback and to come back stronger than ever. But what happens now? With the Kanto League dream dashed, what path will Ash choose? What new challenges await him? Prepare yourself, because the journey is far from over. In fact, it's about to take a turn you won't expect. A turn that will lead him to a brand new adventure, a new set of islands to explore, and a new league to conquer. Get ready to set sail for the Orange Islands, a new horizon. The Indigo Plateau Conference was over, but Ash's journey was far from complete. What happens when the familiar path veers sharply, leading to uncharted territory? Our story takes us now to the Orange Islands, a chain of tropical isles south of Kanto. A new horizon beckoned, promising unique Pokémon, unfamiliar challenges, and a change of pace that Ash and Pikachu desperately needed. But this wasn't just a vacation. It was an opportunity for growth, both for Ash as a trainer and for his ever-evolving understanding of what it meant to be a Pokémon master. But first, a goodbye. Professor Oak had a special request for Ash, to retrieve a mysterious Pokeball from Professor Ivy, a renowned Pokémon researcher working in the Orange Archipelago. It seemed simple enough, a quick detour before heading home. Little did Ash know, this errand would lead to a whole new adventure, one that would test his skills and forge new bonds. The warm ocean breeze, the vibrant colours of the tropical flora, and the distinct calls of Pokémon unlike any he'd heard before immediately captivated Ash. The Orange Islands were a sensory explosion, a stark contrast to the more temperate landscapes of Kanto. This was a region where the rules seemed different, where Pokémon thrived in harmony with the unique environment, and where the very air hummed with untapped potential. However, this new beginning also meant a significant change to the dynamic of the group. Brock, always the steadfast companion, made a surprising decision. He found himself drawn to Professor Ivy's research, fascinated by her work on Pokémon evolution and the unique ecological adaptations of the Orange Islands. He announced that he would stay with Professor Ivy, dedicating himself to studying alongside her. It was a bittersweet moment. Ash and Misty understood Brock's passion, recognizing the incredible opportunity he had before him. But saying goodbye to such a close friend, someone who had been a constant source of support and guidance, was undoubtedly difficult. The trio was now a duo, or so it seemed. As Ash and Misty continued their journey through the Orange Islands, they encountered a young Pokémon watcher named Tracy Sketchit. Tracy was an avid observer, meticulously documenting Pokémon behaviour and habitats with his keen eye and sketchbook. He admired Professor Oak and aspired to be a Pokémon researcher himself. He was instantly drawn to Ash and Pikachu's dynamic, impressed by their bond and Ash's unique training style. Tracy's passion for Pokémon observation was infectious. He saw the world through a different lens, appreciating the subtle nuances of Pokémon behaviour that others often overlooked. He wasn't just interested in battling, he was fascinated by the intricate relationships between Pokémon and their environment. This perspective resonated with Ash, who was beginning to realise that being a Pokémon master was about more than just winning battles. It was about understanding and respecting the creatures he trained. Tracy quickly became an invaluable member of the team, his knowledge of Pokémon proving essential as they navigated the unfamiliar terrain of the Orange Islands. He filled the void left by Brock, not as a cook or caretaker, but as a fellow enthusiast, eager to learn and explore alongside Ash. But the journey wasn't without its dangers. As Ash, Misty and Tracy sailed from island to island, disaster struck. Team Rocket, ever persistent in their pursuit of Pikachu, launched a daring attack. During the chaos, Pikachu was separated from Ash and snatched away by the villainous trio. The moment Pikachu was taken, a wave of fear washed over Ash. It wasn't just about losing a Pokémon, it was about losing his best friend, his partner, the one constant in his life. The desperation in Ash's voice as he yelled for Pikachu echoed across the waves. He wouldn't let Team Rocket get away with this. He had to get Pikachu back. The pursuit was relentless. Ash, Misty and Tracy chased Team Rocket across the ocean, their determination fueled by their unwavering bond with Pikachu. After a harrowing chase, they cornered Team Rocket, unleashing a flurry of attacks to free Pikachu from their clutches. The reunion was emotional, a testament to the deep connection between Ash and his Pokémon. Pikachu leaped into Ash's arms, nuzzling him affectionately, a clear sign that their bond was stronger than ever. With Pikachu safely back by his side, Ash refocused his attention on the challenges that lay ahead. The Orange League was unlike anything he had encountered before. Instead of traditional gym battles, trainers had to face a series of unique trials designed to test their skills and adaptability. These weren't just about brute strength. They required creativity, problem-solving, and a deep understanding of Pokémon abilities. The Orange Crew challenges were a breath of fresh air. One challenge involved surfing across treacherous waves with Pikachu, showcasing their teamwork and agility. Another required Ash to create a Pokémon-themed art piece, demonstrating his artistic flair and his ability to connect with Pokémon on an emotional level. A further challenge involved a test of navigation through a complex series of underwater caves. Each badge was earned through ingenuity and heart, not just raw power. Ash battled his way across the Orange Islands, earning the Sea Ruby badge, the Spike Shell badge, the Jade Star badge, and the Lightning badge. Each victory was a testament to his growth as a trainer, his ability to adapt to new situations, and his unwavering belief in his Pokémon. He was learning to see the world through their eyes, to appreciate their unique strengths, and to work together as a team to overcome any obstacle. The Orange Islands were a world away from Kanto, a region with its own customs, its own traditions, and its own unique ecosystem. Here, Pokémon surfing was a popular sport, and the local berries had unusual effects on Pokémon. The very air felt different, charged with the energy of the ocean and the vibrancy of the tropical landscape. Ash was learning to embrace the unknown, to appreciate the diversity of the Pokémon world, and to find his own path as a trainer. The Orange Islands had changed Ash, challenged him, and ultimately made him a stronger and more well-rounded trainer. He had faced new challenges, forged new friendships, and deepened his bond with Pikachu. But the journey was far from over. There was still one final challenge to face: Drake, the Orange League champion. But before Ash can even think about taking on the champion, he must deal with a more personal matter, a fiery force of nature that needs to be brought under control. Next time, we'll see what happens when we look at Taming the Flame, Charizard's redemption. Was Charizard always the powerful, loyal partner we know and love? The truth is, his journey to becoming a true friend to Ash was paved with frustration, stubbornness, and a near-fatal mistake. Charizard's continued disobedience was a constant test of Ash's patience. Remember, this wasn't a case of a Pokémon simply being playful. Charizard actively ignored Ash's commands, often choosing to nap in the middle of battles, or worse, unleash uncontrolled blasts of fire that threatened both friend and foe. Imagine the pressure on Ash, knowing he had such immense power at his disposal, yet being completely unable to direct it. He'd call out commands, strategize with his other Pokémon, but Charizard would simply stare blankly, a fiery dragon doing whatever it pleased. It was humiliating, infuriating, and heartbreaking all at the same time. Ash knew the potential Charizard held. He'd seen glimpses of it, but unlocking it felt impossible. This wasn't just about pride or winning battles. Ash genuinely cared about Charizard and wanted to help him grow. He saw the raw power within, but also the lack of control, the potential for self-destruction. It was like watching a friend with a dangerous addiction, knowing they were hurting themselves and unable to stop. This disobedience wasn't just a personality quirk, it was a deep-seated issue stemming from Charizard's rapid evolution. He'd become too powerful, too quickly, without the necessary bond with Ash to guide him. Then came the turning point, the moment that changed everything: Charizard's freezing. During a fierce battle in the Orange Islands, Charizard, in yet another act of defiance, flew off into the upper atmosphere. The temperature plummeted rapidly. Ash watched in horror as his disobedient Pokémon was encased in ice. This wasn't just a setback, it was a life-threatening situation. Charizard, the mighty fire type, was helpless against the brutal cold. Ash's unwavering care and dedication to Charizard's recovery became the focal point. He didn't scold, didn't lecture, didn't even show a hint of resentment. All that mattered was saving his Pokémon. He and Pikachu worked tirelessly, using their own body heat to melt the ice surrounding Charizard. Imagine the scene. Ash, shivering and exhausted, desperately trying to warm Charizard's massive body, Pikachu sparking with electricity to generate heat, both risking their own well-being for a Pokémon that had repeatedly disobeyed them. It was a grueling, agonizing process. Hours passed, and the ice slowly began to thaw. Ash never gave up, fueled by a desperate hope and a deep-seated love for his Pokémon. He spoke to Charizard not with anger or frustration, but with encouragement and reassurance, promising that everything would be all right. He told stories of their past adventures, reminding Charizard of the bond they had shared as Charmander, before the evolution that changed everything. Slowly, painstakingly, Charizard began to stir. The ice cracked and shattered, and the fire in his tail flickered back to life. But something was different. Charizard looked at Ash, not with indifference or defiance, but with a newfound respect, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. He had seen Ash's unwavering dedication, his selfless act of love, and it had finally broken through the barrier of pride and disobedience. This moment marked Charizard's renewed respect and obedience, a true turning point in their relationship. It wasn't an instant transformation, but a gradual shift in attitude. Charizard began to listen to Ash's commands, not blindly, but with a willingness to trust and cooperate. He started to fight not just for himself, but for Ash, for the team, for the bond they had forged in the face of adversity. The training that followed was intense. Ash and Charizard worked tirelessly to hone their skills, to synchronize their movements, to truly become a unified fighting force. It was a period of intense growth, not just for Charizard but for Ash as well. He learned to be a more patient and understanding trainer, to communicate effectively with his Pokémon, and to trust in their abilities. He learned that true strength wasn't just about power, but about the bond between trainer and Pokémon, the unwavering loyalty that could overcome any obstacle. The ultimate test of this newfound bond came during the Orange League champion battle against Drake. Drake was a formidable opponent, a master strategist with a diverse team of powerful Pokémon. The battle was long and arduous, pushing Ash and his team to their absolute limits. One by one, Ash's Pokémon fell, until only Charizard remained. The pressure was immense. The entire stadium watched with bated breath as Ash and Charizard faced off against Drake's final Pokémon, a powerful Dragonite. This was it, the moment of truth. Could Charizard overcome his past disobedience and fight with all his heart for Ash? Could Ash trust in Charizard's newfound loyalty and lead him to victory? The battle was fierce and unrelenting. Dragonite unleashed a barrage of powerful attacks, but Charizard stood firm, deflecting each blow with incredible speed and agility. He fought with a ferocity and determination that Ash had never seen before, fueled by a burning desire to protect his trainer and prove his loyalty. He was no longer the disobedient, self-centered Pokémon of the past. He was a true partner, a loyal friend, a force to be reckoned with. Ash, in turn, guided Charizard with unwavering confidence. He called out precise commands, anticipating Dragonite's every move and trusting in Charizard's ability to execute his strategies. He wasn't just a trainer, he was a conductor, orchestrating Charizard's movements with perfect precision. It was a symphony of fire and fury, a testament to the power of their bond. In the end, it was Charizard's unwavering loyalty and Ash's strategic brilliance that secured the victory. With a final earth-shattering blast of fire, Charizard defeated Dragonite, claiming the Orange League Championship for Ash. The crowd erupted in cheers, celebrating the triumph of teamwork, perseverance, and the power of true friendship. Ash had proven that even the most disobedient Pokémon could be redeemed with patience, understanding, and unwavering love. As Ash celebrated his victory, he knew that this was more than just a championship win. It was a testament to the bond he had forged with Charizard, a symbol of their shared growth and transformation. He had tamed the flame, not by force or coercion, but by earning Charizard's respect and loyalty. He had shown the world that even the most challenging relationships could be overcome with patience, understanding, and a whole lot of heart. It was the perfect culmination to this chapter of their journey, but you'll soon see how this victory prepared them for what comes next, as they begin. A new journey begins. The Orange League Trophy, a symbol of triumph, a testament to growth, and a tangible reward for Ash's unwavering spirit. But what does it truly mean to hold that trophy high above your head? For Ash, it wasn't just about the victory, it was about validation. Validation of his training, his bond with Pikachu, and the countless battles fought alongside his Pokémon. It was proof that a boy from Pallet Town could stand amongst the best. The roar of the crowd, the flash of the cameras, and the weight of the trophy in his hands were all secondary to the feeling of accomplishment that washed over him. This was more than a win. It was the culmination of a journey. And speaking of journeys, remember that familiar face who took a detour? The one who dedicated himself to Pokémon breeding and care. Brock's return to the group was more than just a reunion. It was the rekindling of a powerful friendship. The original trio, Ash, Misty, and Brock, were together again. The dynamic shifted, the banter returned, and a sense of completeness settled over the group. Brock's experience with Professor Ivy had broadened his knowledge and deepened his understanding of Pokémon. He brought a new level of maturity and insight to the team, ready to support Ash on his next adventure. The gang was back together, and it felt right. But even the greatest adventures must eventually come to an end, at least in one chapter of life. With the Orange League conquered, Ash faced a difficult decision. A decision that would test his resolve and challenge his understanding of what it meant to be a Pokémon trainer. Ash's decision to return to Pallet Town wasn't an easy one. He had tasted victory, experienced incredible growth, and forged unbreakable bonds with his Pokémon. But Pallet Town was home. It was where his journey began, and it was time to reflect on everything he had accomplished. He knew that new challenges awaited him, but first he needed to reconnect with his roots. A bittersweet homecoming awaited, filled with familiar faces and a chance to share his triumphs with his mother. However, this return wasn't about settling down. It was about preparing for what came next. And part of that preparation involved entrusting some of his most loyal companions to specialized duties. The departure of Bulbasaur, Charizard, and Squirtle was perhaps the most heart-wrenching part of this new beginning. Each Pokémon held a special place in Ash's heart, and each had unique skills that could be put to good use. Bulbasaur, with its calm demeanor and natural leadership abilities, was entrusted to Professor Oak to help maintain the balance between the wild Pokémon at the lab. Charizard, finally under control and eager to prove its strength, was sent to Charisific Valley to train with other Charizard and hone its skills. Squirtle, the charismatic leader of the Squirtle Squad, returned to its firefighting crew, ready to protect the citizens of Vermilion City. It was a difficult goodbye, but Ash knew that they were all embarking on new journeys of their own, journeys that would allow them to grow and thrive. With those goodbyes said, Ash stood at a crossroads. He had proven himself in Kanto, conquered the Orange Islands, and learned valuable lessons about friendship, perseverance, and the power of believing in yourself. But the world of Pokémon was vast and full of endless possibilities. A new region beckoned, a new challenge awaited, and a new chapter was about to begin. Ash and Pikachu's departure for Jotto marked the start of a new adventure, a journey fueled by a deeper bond than ever before. Their experiences together had forged an unbreakable connection, a silent understanding that transcended words. Pikachu, always by Ash's side, was more than just a Pokémon. It was his partner, his confidant, and his best friend. Together they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with their unwavering determination and an unshakable belief in the power of friendship. This wasn't just another adventure, it was a new beginning, a chance to apply the lessons learned, to refine their skills, and to explore a world teeming with new Pokémon, new challenges, and new opportunities. Johto was a land of ancient mysteries, powerful trainers, and untold secrets. And Ash and Pikachu were ready to uncover them all. As they set off, the rising sun painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, symbolizing the dawn of a new era. The familiar road stretched out before them, beckoning them forward. But this time, something was different. There was a sense of purpose, a quiet confidence that radiated from both Ash and Pikachu. They had grown, they had learned, and they were ready to face whatever the future held. The journey to Jotto was more than just a geographical relocation. It was a symbolic leap into the unknown. It represented Ash's commitment to his dream of becoming a Pokémon master, a dream that had been ignited in Pallet Town and fueled by countless battles and unwavering friendships. He knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, but he was prepared to face any obstacle that stood in his way. And as they walked, Pikachu perched comfortably on Ash's shoulder, its electric tail crackling with anticipation. They were a team, a force to be reckoned with. Their bond had been tested and strengthened, and they were ready to take on the world, one Pokémon battle at a time. The journey to Jotto was a testament to their unwavering friendship, their shared passion, and their unwavering belief in the power of dreams. As the familiar landscape of Kanto faded behind them, a new horizon emerged, promising adventure, excitement, and the chance to forge new friendships. The air was filled with the scent of pine and the sound of rustling leaves, a symphony of nature that beckoned them forward. This was more than just a journey. It was a pilgrimage, a quest to discover the true meaning of what it meant to be a Pokémon master. And with each step they took, Ash and Pikachu grew closer, their bond deepening with every shared experience. They were more than just trainer and Pokémon. They were partners, friends, and kindred spirits. Their journey to Jotto was a testament to the power of friendship, the importance of perseverance, and the unwavering belief in the potential that lies within each and every one of us. The Jotto region awaited, teeming with new Pokémon, unique challenges, and the promise of untold adventures. But what trials would they face? What new friends would they make? And what secrets would they uncover in this ancient and mysterious land? Their journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And the biggest lessons were still yet to be learned. The greatest battles were still yet to be fought, and the strongest bonds were still yet to be forged. But what you're about to discover is that this new chapter isn't just about a new region. It's about a whole new level of understanding, one that redefines Ash's purpose and sets the stage for the ultimate test of his abilities. If this story resonated with you, there's plenty more. Click the video on screen to keep the journey going, or dive into the full Pokemon playlist for more stories, memories, and deep dives. Whichever path you choose, I'll see you there, trainer.